औज़ुबिल्लाहि बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिल करीम. Today we had to start continue our discussion by referring to certain ayat of Quran where there is prohibition of of peace, violation of peace in 4 months. Before I take up those ayat, because we'll have to spend some time on these ayat, I'm just showing you that what will be those ayat on which we might spend a couple of minutes. But before that, before these ayat, we'll also discuss the meaning, the difference between shuhur and ashhur. Both are plural of the singular shahr, and how the singular shahr covers both the meanings of plurals of ashar and shuhur. But even before that, I'll take you to the last week's discussion. When we had closed the discussion, there was a very important, informative discussion initiated by Dr. Mamdou Salama, and he had referred to this ayat, whether it is how the people at the time, Kufar, they considered that they made 1 year, during 1 year, they made a certain month as lawful, and the uh, in the next time or in the next year, they made the same month or other month as unlawful. So whether it was consecutive, it was in the next year, it was in the following year, or it was any month in the any year, what were the practices? So we will discuss that also. But that is not important from my point of view. But from my point of view is from my point of view, what is more important, this is also important, but what is more important is that how this has impacted Muslim civilization, Muslim culture, Muslim faith, and how it has affected the entire Muslim world when we do not agree on moon sighting and the dates of moon sighting. We don't go by calculations. We don't go by timekeeping. We completely ignore the concept of calendaring, and we treat moon sighting in a couple of months totally separately from timekeeping and uh, uh, not only timekeeping, but calendaring. Timekeeping is one of the most important concepts in Islam, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has linked our 5 times salah, our hajj, our not only these important rituals are like uh, uh, important worships like fasting, even zakah, and so many other things which are linked to timing, to time, not only to lunar time, but they are also linked with the solar time. Our salat is completely linked with the solar time. So what are we doing with that? How we have affected our iman? Now look at this ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Zuyyanna lahum su'a amalihim. Those who are violating this, their amal have been decorated for them, have been adorned for them. Wallahu la yahdi qawmal kafirin. This is the work of qawmal kafirin, which were doing this violation. They were not only intercalating, but they were violating the basic concept of timekeeping and hence the concept of calendaring. So we will come back to these ayat, as I said, but before that, I'm taking you to another slide, two other slides. I will not take those in detail, but only the concept. Only the concept. Otherwise, it will take a lot of days to complete that. So I will discuss the concept and then we'll come back to these ayah. So one of the important concepts, as I said, that is about timekeeping. I'll take you to this concept, that is timekeeping. How it is important in Islam. Timekeeping. What is timekeeping? And how it is important. Let me correct this. This again there. Timekeeping and calendaring. What is timekeeping and calendaring and why it is important? And how we are violating the rules of timekeeping and calendaring when we don't agree on one date. We don't go by calculation. We don't go by timekeeping. We don't go by calendaring. They just think that some person declares that in the same city, one masjid or one mullah celebrates Eid and say on 1st of March, and the other person celebrates, the other masjid celebrates on 2nd of March, and they think that they have earned their Jannat, but they don't know, they don't understand how they have violated the timekeeping and calendaring and how it is affecting the history and how it has affected the civilization, the Muslim civilization, and how people look at it. If there is no sense of timekeeping, there's no sense of events, solar events, heavenly events taking place. We have no sense of the events taking place. Not only the events of Eid, but the events which are taking place in the universe. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invited attention to time? Why is najm iza hawa? Why iza? Just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said, najm hawa. He's inviting attention to time. When? At what time? And why at that time? The najm was hawa. If there's no sense of events, if there's no sense of timekeeping, there's no sense of events because time is a distance. Time is a distance between two events. What are the two events? For example, just a small example, distance between the sun and the moon, distance between the earth and the moon, the distance between the sun and the earth determines the temperature, climate, weather. If you have no sense of timekeeping, then it means we don't have the sense of events. And if we don't have sense of events, it means we don't have sense of distance. How all these movements of all these celestial objects, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look at the sky, look at the heaven, how they are moving, how they are coordinating, what are their coordinates, how they are making nujum, how they are making buruj, how they are moving at night as a sheet of stars in the sky. It means we don't have sense of distance, we don't have sense of events. If there's no sense of time keeping, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا أَسْعَسَ, why وَالْفَجْرِ? There is no sense of space. It means if we don't have sense of distance, it means we don't have sense of space, because time is distance between 2 points in space. And we mullahs, myself including, I'm talking about myself, so that somebody is not offended. We don't have sense of the heavens. We don't have the sense of the systems working in the heavens. We have no sense of it. And if I summarize it, we don't have the world view, how the gyrations are taking place. That is why we are losing everywhere. We are being disrespected, dishonored, because we are living as illiterate people, people who don't know. If there is no sense of timekeeping, the third point, there's no sense at all. If there is no sense of space, if there is no sense of distance, if there is no sense of events, then what is the sense? It means there's no sense. It is a state of senselessness, zombie. It is a state of non-consciousness. The entire emphasis of Quran is on consciousness. Consciousness, conscience comes after consciousness. Intuition, conscientiousness, they are all related to consciousness, that is taqwa. Timekeeping refers to consciousness of infinite through infinitesimal. We try to perceive the infinitesimal God, the eternal God, through the infinitesimal window to the heavens, to the solar system. And we can't agree to that. Whereas the entire world, all the scientists, they agree on these things. They are all stupid. They are all illiterate. They don't know. Various methods are employed to assess person's orientation. Orientation in time, orientation of time, how this consciousness is measured, how this consciousness is determined. What is it called? It is called the orientation of man in time, orientation in time and space. If one loses consciousness, one loses orientation in time and space, it means he has lost the mental consciousness. Doctors, most of the time, particularly in case of the patients who have some mental illness, they try to determine, they try to find out whether the orientation in time and space of that patient is intact, it is working or not. This is very important. Each method provides different insights into person's cognitive abilities. What is orientation in time and space? It refers to the person's cognitive abilities and awareness of living a life in the system of God, system of his creation, in which he is aware of the environment. He's aware of the entire atmosphere, environment, space, time. But I very painfully say that most of our people, I'm referring to the cases which come to, in most of those cases, people don't have proper awareness of their family environments. Family environment. What is happening in the family? What is happening with the wife, in the mind of the wife, in the brain of the children? We are not aware of that. We have become so engrossed in other profane engagements. And in other words, this is the orientation status. If there's no timekeeping, there is no orientation status. One loses the orientation status. Person's orientation refers to his or her awareness in relation to surroundings, as I've already mentioned, environment, a smart atmosphere, family, what is surrounding me. It is crucial aspect of cognition. In other words, as I've already said, the mental status. Now, consider these points. then kindly reject it. I request you to reject it. But when you consider that, do you think that it has any relevance to our mental status of the Muslims? When we lose everything, all these things, orientations and everything, we have no orientation in time and space. Orientation encompasses what? It encompasses person, place, where are we, time, in what time, what najm is a hawa, when the najm goes into hawa, when the hawa occurs, and the situation. What is the situation? Total. Now, this is so far the timekeeping is concerned. I said I only refer to the important points. These are points. Every point in this is a subject. Time is one of the important subjects of science today. What is a calendar? How we are butchering our calendar, how we are cruel to our calendar. We don't mind if one person in one masjid has declared Eid on one day and the other has declared on the other day, and we offer the Eid and we serve on our sawab, and that's all. But what havoc it has caused to the calendar, Muslim calendar. People, particularly the scientists who know the calculation, who want to calculate, who want to conduct any study, I will show those things to some extent. They don't refer to these things, these calendars which we have. And even those persons who have declared Eid on different days, they don't refer to these Muslim calendars. Calendar is a chart, is a structure of time. وَالْعُقْسُمْ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. What is that? Calendar is a structure that divides a year into months, weeks, and days, that reflects order and motion of celestial objects and earth. Kindly note this. Quran tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, moon cannot go before sun and sun cannot go before moon. They have interrelational mathematics. They are interrelationally connected in their motion, in their speed, in their spin, in their rotation, in their revolution. In order and motion, the celestial objects and earth, this is not just somebody else's subject matter. This is the subject matter of time. This is the subject matter of calendar, to which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting attention in Quran. The Prophet, peace be upon him, is inviting attention. Look at the moon every month, not just Ramzan. Calendaring cannot be conceived without timekeeping. These are two things related. They cannot be separated. If you have no sense of timekeeping, it means we have no sense of calendaring. And we have no sense of calendaring, then we are playing havoc with our civilization, with our culture. One of the aspects of the decline and ultimate demise of Egyptian civilization, Indian civilization, and some other civilization was the misconception about time, the cyclical nature of time. Even today, we are not able to fix dates for the rule of pharaohs. Different pharaoh is a title. Different pharaohs. We don't have the dates because they started their calendar anew, afresh, with every new pharaoh taking the throne. So misconception of time, cyclical nature of time. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Every object, now the science says, particularly since Einstein, that every object in the universe, in the heavens, is floating, moving in a straight line. It is the curvature in the space which is creating orbits. Otherwise, everything is moving on Sirat al-Mustaqim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us for himself in Quran that I am on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us these things? Calendar cannot be conceived without timekeeping. This led to development of orology, that is the science of measuring time. Science of measuring time. Till today, man has not been able to exactly, even with the nuclear clock, capture the every moment of every object which is moving, particularly the sun, the moon, earth, which are nearer to us exactly. That is why we generally say there are 365 days in the year, but the scientists will tell you that there are 364 days and quarter of a day. But those who are precisely working on this, they will tell you that it is 364 days, quarter of a day, and so many minutes. And the other person more precisely working, conducting research will say that precisely so many minutes and so many seconds. And then somebody will tell you that not only precisely seconds, but the fractions of seconds. Why are they doing this? They're wasting their time. Knowing the creation of God is knowing the Creator. Without knowing the creation of God, in every object, in every part of life, in everything, we cannot conceive. Hakka tuqatihi. Hakka tuqatihi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. You cannot become conscious of God. You cannot have taqwa of God in the exact manner, in the perfect manner, in the desired manner that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. We cannot have the hakka tuqati, consciousness. Consciousness is so precise. Billionth of a second was calculated to know what happened during the first billionth of a second when the Big Bang took place. We read in Quran, Ratkan fafataknahuma. And now we say, oh yes, the Big Bang is mentioned in the Quran. But who is working on that? Are our mullahs working on this? Our Maulvis are working on this? Are our priests working on that? Kindly forgive me if I'm trying to talk to you frankly. Historians believe timekeeping goes as far back as Neolithic period, but calendars developed around Bronze Age 3100 BC. 3100 BC. But today, 1500 years after Hijrah, we are not able to present to the world. I'll show you the examples from the ayat when we go back to from the ayat from where I have started, how we are suffering. I'll give you the examples from that ayat, how we are suffering when the Nasiyan took place. First, we'll have to understand Nasiyan. We'll go there. In that ayat, the word Nasiyan has been used. From the Bronze Age, they were so advanced at that age, and we are still today, not agreeable on calculation. Sumerians, Mesopotamians, they made the first calendar. Now I leave it here because agriculture, flood, many things are connected with this. I will not go into these details. Sometime in future, Allah willing, inshallah, if Allah wants this, Allah willing, Allah helps us, then I would like to take the subject of timekeeping and calendaring separately. But now I'm taking you to another slide because the ayat the part of the ayat with which I started the discussion, that that pertains to intercalating. I'm taking you to the intercalating, just introduction, just a couple of points on that, and then we'll go back to some other thing. Now, I hope I'm taking again, I've come back to the same slide. I'm taking you to new slide. I hope I take you to the proper slide. So I don't know why it is taking me all the time to the same slide. And let me go there. Leap year. Leap year. The subject of the discussion on the subject which we started today, it pertains to inserting a month or a period into a year at a certain point, particularly during the beginning of the year, at their will. Not necessarily consecutively, not necessarily next year, not necessarily at a fixed interval, but whenever they suited them, in order to violate the divine instructions that they had to maintain peace, they had to maintain ceasefire. In order to violate that, they violate the they violated the prohibition of these 4 months. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there are 4 inviolable months, 4, but we say no, there is one Muharram, 1 month which is called Muharram. We don't refer even to all the 3 other months. So what is leap year and intercalation? Intercalation is timekeeping. I'm coming back to this. I first introduced timekeeping. What is intercalation? It is a part of exercise of timekeeping. It is insertion of a leap day or a week or a month into some calendar years. Some years, in 1 year, they may add 1 month. In the other year, they may not add. In some years, they may not add. But they added with their sweet will. A day or a week or a month to make the calendar follow seasons or moon phases. They used to do this also for this purpose, but mainly the purpose was to violate the ceasefire, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered that during these 4 months there will be peace. There will be no violation of peace. There will be ceasefire. There will be no fighting. No fighting even around the Masjid al-Haram, in the Masjid al-Haram. And even if they are your enemies, the ayat clearly lays down that the enmity of these people should not incite you to break this law. If you break this law, for the violation of this law, the Quran tells us the punishment is hellfire. And these are kafirun. And further Quran tells that the hellfire for these kafirun, they will be khalidun, forever living in this hellfire. Can we imagine the importance of these ayats? And these ultimately lead to the importance of timekeeping. Unisolar calendar requires intercalations of days or months. Here, one thing is very important to mention. If you maintain a lunar calendar separately, and if you maintain a solar calendar separately, then there is no need of intercalation. The need of intercalation arises when you prefer unisolar calendar. And Muslims during the first 500 years, credit goes to them. They created calendar. Even today, the scientists who work and relate certain research to the Muslim events, they refer to their calendars developed during the first 500 years of Islam. I'll show that also with references. But after that, we have completely forgotten. We have not updated them. We have not developed them. Leap year, intercalary year, or bisextile year is a calendar year that contains an additional day, additional month, or additional week. or additional time. Or in case of a lunisolar calendar, a month compared to a common year. This is the subject matter of the ayat with which we started the discussion. So it is important to understand this subject before we go back to that ayat to discuss that. 366th day or 13th month. When you add it, it becomes 13 months. If you add 1 day, it becomes 366 days. Is added to keep the calendar year synchronized with the astronomical year. But if you keep the two calendars separately, there's no need. But since they want to violate certain provisions of Quran and violate the conditions of ceasefire or peace, or they want to violate certain other things, they do these things. I'm not going into these details also. By intercalating, inserting an additional day, a leap day or a leap month into some years, not every year. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in 1 year, then other year, not necessarily next year. Into some years, the drift between human dating system, particularly our dating system of the sun, moon, solar system, how we date it, physical properties of social system and physical properties of solar system can be adjusted. Now kindly tell me, can our eye, our observation, when we say that human dating system will be based on observation only, by our eye, with our eye, even if we turn it 20 times, 100 times towards the sky, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it will come back khasam wa hasira. Even if we are using gadgets, we are not getting the perfect, exact calculation. But even without calculation, only with observation, the human dating system, can it capture all the physical properties of social system, solar system? Is it possible? An astronomical year is slightly less than 365 and 1/4 days. I have mentioned this, I have referred to this, I am not going into those details. Gregorian calendar makes further adjustment for small error in Julian algorithm. Gregorian calendar is an advancement, is a better calculation than the Julian calendar. And this is not the last calculation. These calculations will go on and on till the man is able to get the perfect calculation of all the gyrations of solar objects in the system. There's different systems, calendars. I'm not referring to those calendars. The length of a day is also corrected by inserting a leap second. We are talking of usually the leap year, leap month, leap week. But I have in my discussion referred to the second. And now people are referring to the fraction of a second, how to add it. If you want to have interrelation between the calendars. Unlike leap days, leap seconds are not introduced on a regular schedule because variations in the length of the day are not entirely predictable. The observed and calculated versions of lunar Islamic calendar do not add regular leap year. Then why are we creating confusion? Kindly, my request is, I'm requesting earnestly, kindly go to the person in the masjid who celebrated Eid on the basis of his observation, and also go to the person in the masjid who celebrated Eid on a different day to go to these both Maulvis and kindly ask them, show us the calendar which you developed from that date for the whole year, so that for reference we can refer to that calendar. It's not just the matter of Eid, it's the matter of calendaring. And calendaring is the one of the very, very important fundamental signs of the advancement of any civilization. Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Roman. However, the tabular Islamic calendar used by Islamic astronomers during Middle Ages by Muslims, developed during Middle Ages of Islam, and is still used by some Muslims, does have a regular leap day added to the last month of the lunar year in 11 years of a 30-year cycle. Kindly ask these mullahs, are they aware of this? Do they know this? Just celebrating 1 month as 30 days and 1 month as third, and on observation, and without making any adjustment in the calendar year. What are we doing? Why are we accepting these leaders? Because we are ourselves ignorant. We ourselves don't know what havoc they are playing with our civilization, with our history. I'll show you the examples from history, how they have distorted our historical events, reference to the history. Tabular Islamic calendar is a rule-based, not just observational, is a rule-based variation of a lunar Hijri calendar developed by Muslims about 1,000 years back. Still scientists are referring to that. It has same numbering of years and months, but the months are determined by arithmetical rules rather than by observation or astronomical calculations. Not just the astronomical calculations of solar system and not just the observations, but they have rules developed. They developed rules and they created the interrelationship in the calculation. Behuswanin calculation. This is what they did 1,000 years back, and we have not taken it further. It was developed by early Muslim astronomers of the second Hijra century. Umar, Usman, Abu Bakr. They were also more advanced than we are today. I'm not taking the names of those very well-known scientists who were polymaths. It was developed by early Muslim astronomers of the second Hijra century, that is the 8th century of Common Era, 10th century AD, 8th century AD, to provide a predictable time, calculated time base, predictable time base for calculating. These are not my words, I've just copy and pasted. For calculating the positions of the moon, manazil of the moon, the sun and the planets. It is now used by historians. I've taken 40 minutes, but if you allow me to complete this, I come to the reference. I'll just finish in a minute or so. It is now used by historians to convert an Islamic date into a Western calendar when no other information like the day of the week is available. Is calendar era and Hijri year. An example is the Fatimid and Misri Egyptian calendar. We called Fatimis, we called Ismailis, infidels. They did it. Each year has 12 months and 354 or 355 days. The odd numbered months have 30 days and the even numbered months have 29 days, except in the leap year when the 12th and the final month, Zulhajj, has 30 days. They is so precisely adjusted every year. They developed it. Muslims developed it. And we are still fighting. An observation, don't believe me. Go to this reference. And all these are kafirun. These are infidels who have written these things about Islam, that they did this. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك أعلي كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, purify our hearts, strengthen our faith, increase our knowledge, and make us benefit from what you have taught us. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, grant to all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them, and make them righteous. Oh Allah, grant us the power and the ability that we may be grateful for the favors you have bestowed upon us and our parent, and that we may do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you. Oh Allah, we seek from you all of the good, whether we know it or we don't. And we seek your refuge from all evil, whether we know it or we don't. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you from incapacity, from laziness, from fear, from greed, from poverty, and from the torment of the grave. Oh Allah, we have many of our brethren who are living under oppression and injustice. Oh Allah, heal their trauma, protect their helpless, and grant them lasting peace and prosperities. Oh Allah, we ask with every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.